Howdy. This is a bit of a bonus video I'm putting out just as a result of a number of private messages I've received over the last couple of weeks as a result of my Men of War Iwo Jima video, which I put out a couple months back. So a number of people have asked me to demonstrate what would happen in this video if I basically launched a full-scale attack on the US front line instantaneously with all of the Japanese troops, and I've suggested that it wouldn't be quite as effective as people believe. A lot of people seem to think that if I just threw all the Japanese forces at the US front line at once, they win very easily, and therefore the map was a bit of a pointless example of a Men of War battle. So I just thought I'd put this out there to just demonstrate what actually would happen, what will happen even. So I'm launching this up now. So I've set the Japanese forces to all attack immediately, so that they're all moving forward at once, as you can see. So I've demonstrated this before to myself. I've tested it out, and I know what the result will be, but I don't want to give it away, so we'll see. With this particular Men of War video, I knew that playtesting was a bit of an issue, so I tried various things before I put out the video, various tactics, because I was controlling the Japanese forces when I first made this. So I'm just going to let this video roll. I'm not going to skip anything. So they're obviously heading towards the US front line here, and if you haven't already seen it, to really understand why I'm doing this video, you need to watch the Men of War Iwo Jima vid from, like I say, a couple months back. So they're all on the move, as you can see, and I'm not going to control them at all. I'm just going to let this battle play out. US forces, it's exactly the same scenario as the Men of War Iwo Jima battle. I haven't changed anything really, not to my knowledge anyway. I sometimes fiddle with these missions and forget I've saved them, but I don't think I've made any drastic change. So they're creeping forward. And I suspect we should see some action any moment now, as they come into range of the US guns. So here's the map. I'm going to change teams so we can differentiate between the US and Japanese forces on the map. I'm going to set my keypad to one of them. So anyway, here we go. So it's kicking off. So instantly what you begin to realise is, although the Japanese forces are vast in numbers and they completely outnumber the US forces, they're completely exposed, and they're just in a position where they're just charging into multiple machine guns, multiple mortar ranges. So their numbers suddenly mean far less, and they're attempting to flank slightly on the left side there, but again the machine guns can open up on them on both flanks. The mortars are pretty devastating as well, so there really isn't anywhere the Japanese troops can go. Cover's very limited. So in terms of a full frontal attack, as you can see from me pressing V here, so we see the bodies highlighted, they're just getting utterly chewed up. So really not much chance here of them gaining much of a foothold. A lot of them are cowering down by this rock here. pretty devastating, basically. And I'm not sure a lot else needs to be said. This is exactly what I suspected would happen, and it has happened. The Japanese forces looked strong initially, but as soon as they got into range they got utterly chewed up, and I'd say about 60% of their force has now been wiped out, and there's no real chance of them taking the US position. So what does this demonstrate? Well, it demonstrates that the only way to take a position like that is not to just throw your numbers at it blindly, but to apply tactics and to have some sort of overarching strategy. And my strategy in the Men of War video was to commit small pockets of Japanese troops to sort of probe the US position continuously in waves, and as a result the US forces weren't able to do as much damage to a whole wave of troops in one attack. They were slowly eaten away, sort of chipped away essentially, until I was able to do a left flank, a manoeuvre that ultimately cost the US forces the battle, because I was able to set up a position to their extreme left side and put some suppressing fire down on them, and then I could slowly bring my forces in, and eventually they cleared the trench. But obviously a battle like this is always going to have mixed results, but it usually plays out as you just saw. So I'm going to relaunch that just to prove my point, really, and I'm going to decrease the number of US troops. So I'm going to remove some of the machine guns and mortars, and I'm going to use the same amount of Japanese forces, and I'm going to just shift it up here slightly to the point where they attack. So this is a different instance of the battle you're seeing now, and there are fewer US forces. It may not be obvious, but there are. And let's see what happens. Let's see if the Japanese can conquer it with fewer troops. And also I've set them for more aggressive. I've set the Japanese forces to attack without any sense of self-preservation, shall we just say. So they're getting closer, that much is obvious. They are getting much nearer to that US trench, but not by much though, maybe by about 10-20 feet. So there's not a lot of difference here. It hasn't been quite as much of a massacre, but the Japanese forces haven't exactly made a dent. And obviously you would reach a point, if I kept removing US troops, diminishing their numbers down, you would eventually reach that sweet spot where the Japanese forces would quite easily conquer the position. But I feel like I've pretty much proved my point here. The Japanese troops haven't really been able to gain any ground at all. So numbers do not mean everything in Men of War. They really don't. Positions like this, you need to apply some kind of tactic, some sort of strategy to conquer the position. So I'm going to try and just give the Japanese troops a chance here. So I'm controlling this squad, but again, you know, that they don't really have any cover. I can't really get them near enough, and they've been wiped out. So that was a bit of a feeble effort. Now, obviously, a lot of people have said I know in the comments of that Men of War video, the Iwo Jima one, If I'd have just performed an extreme right flank from the start of the battle with all my forces, I could have come around the US position and taken it from the rear. Obviously that goes without saying, but that's not really what I wanted to demonstrate in the video. I wanted to demonstrate an approach to conquering a position from the front and doing slight flanking manoeuvres in order to achieve that aim. I didn't want to just do a complete flanking manoeuvre and win, because that would have been easy and it wouldn't have demonstrated anything. So the Japanese troops haven't won this either, so there you go. So that was just a video I wanted to put out as by way of a bonus, really, in between my main Men of War videos, just to show you what it looked like to have all of your forces committed to the attack at once. And it will go on for a long time, this battle. I mean, as you can see from the map, there are still quite a significant number of Japanese troops alive, and if I probably if I really got my act together and started really being careful with them, I could still win this battle if I applied some significant tactics with the few troops I have left. But it's going to take too long, and I don't just want to repeat my Iwo Jima battle from a few months back, so I'm going to end it here. So that was just, like I say, just to demonstrate what happens when you kind of go at a battle like this without any real discipline. All these guys have got quite close, we'll say that much, very close, but it wasn't enough. So there you go. I'll be putting out more Men of War vids soon, stay tuned, and in the meantime, if you want to send me any of your videos, if you're an aspiring Men of War mission maker or video maker, just send me some links. I'm happy to support other people in the community with their creations, and I can link to them, etc. Stay tuned for more.